if you have decided to have a repeat C-section instead of try for a VBAC, know that you can actually have much more control over the experience than a lot of women realize. And a lot of this control, the sense of empowerment, comes in the form of birth preferences. So you have the right to craft C-section birth preferences. And this essentially outlines how you want to be treated during the procedure. And luckily, more and more hospitals, more and more care providers are becoming open to these C-section birth preferences and supporting women and having more power over how that birth experience unfolds. And so to help you in creating these birth preferences, I have included a template that should come right after this lesson. And I'm going to go over all of the preferences that you will find in that template right now. But please know that these preferences are just samples. They're totally optional. You can take out anything that doesn't feel important to you, and of course add in anything that does. And then once you've created these birth preferences, I recommend bringing them to a prenatal appointment about 5 to 6 weeks before your due date or before the C-section is going to be scheduled, to go over them with your care provider. And this can be really helpful because you can find out if any of the preferences will absolutely not be an option at the hospital where you're going to have your baby. And then you can choose to, okay, give up the preference, really fight for it to figure out if there's any way that you can get them to honor that preference. Or if it's a really, really important preference to you, you can choose to figure out how to have the C-section in a different hospital that is more supportive of what we like to call gentle C-sections. So here are the preferences. We request to have my arms free during the operation. So having your arms bound during a C-section can trigger panic and fear in some women, and obviously it makes it hard to immediately hold your baby after the procedure. So if at all possible, having your arms free can be really nice, obviously. To have a nasal cannula instead of a face mask for oxygen. Sometimes oxygen face masks can make moms feel a little claustrophobic. So having the oxygen little things in your nose, the nasal cannula, can feel a lot better. To have medical staff refrain from personal conversations. So hearing about like the nurse's weekend plans while you're having your baby sometimes doesn't feel great. So you can ask that everybody in the room either not talk much, or if they do want to talk, they talk to you, but they're not just talking about random stuff that has nothing to do with you and your birth. You can also ask the medical staff to talk to you instead of about you. You know, this can really help you feel like part of the process and not just like yet another patient being moved through the OR. So again, they need to talk to you, not about you. The next, to have music or any other recording of your choice playing during the operation. So the sounds you hear during your C-section can really set the tone of the experience. And so you can ask for the ability to play your own soundtrack in the room during the procedure, or if you want a private listening experience, you can ask if you can bring in, you know, your headphones or like little earbuds, and your phone that can play your music or your guided meditation recording. To have the screen lowered as baby is lifted out. So there's going to be a screen, well, you know this if you've had a C-section, you have that screen that's between you and your abdomen where they're bringing the baby out. You can ask that the screen be partially lowered so you can see that amazing moment where your baby is brought up and out into the world. To have skin-to-skin contact directly after the baby is born. So in the absence of a medical emergency, the baby should be able to go directly to your chest after they're born, and this helps to release oxytocin, which can really make a big impact in supporting early breastfeeding if that is something that you're wanting to do. To have monitors placed so they won't impede bonding. So there are certain ways that they can place all the monitors that are monitoring your vitals to make sure that you're not like dealing with a tangle of wires when you're trying to hold your baby. to have babies stay with the parents at all times, unless, of course, a medical complication makes that impossible, because it is ideal for your baby to stay with you or your partner as often as possible and have that skin-to-skin contact. And then the last one, to have a vaginal swab applied to baby. This is also known as vaginal seeding. Obviously, this is totally optional. Stay with me on this one. Okay, what's behind this? So when a baby is born vaginally, they're exposed to a range of microbes that can help to reduce the chance of the baby having, a high risk for inflammatory illnesses, heart disease, infections, and other situations that could pose an issue for the baby's health. And a baby born via C-section can potentially receive the benefits of these microbiomes when the care provider collects a vaginal swab from the mom and wipes it on the baby's skin. And it can also be wiped on your nipples before breastfeeding. I really recommend, if you're interested in this, I recommend talking about it with your care provider, because the research is still emerging about it. And another great way to start to learn more about this option is by checking out the article, "The Microbiome Seeding Debate, Let's Frame It Around Women-Centered Care." And this is in the journal Reproductive Health. And then the last thing you can do to help to have this really empowered, positive, gentle C-section experience is to listen to the guided meditation that is included after this video.